Hey man, I got something exciting we're going to do today. I'm in my studio here, getting ready to do this special training. I'd like to take you back in the back and show you my studio team, but I can't do that. Hey, Will, hold up the kit. I'm going to be talking about this. Open it up for us so I can see what's on the inside. Thank you, Will. 4 DVDs, people. You know what today's show's about? You. It's about you doing what God called you to do. It's the ultimate life strategy. It literally is. I'm going to be doing some training here that I do in some of our masterminds, some of our business seminars, some of our big weekends where people actually invest a lot of money in just focusing on doing what they're called to do. But you're going to love it, because today I'm going to break down the formula for being able to scientifically analyze where you are at this stage in your life and how to get to the phase where you're doing the thing you were ultimately called to do. The convergence zone is what I'm talking about, where the magic and the fun stuff really happens. I'm going to make sense of all this stuff behind me. So what am I talking about today? The content of what I'm training from is that 4 DVDs you saw is lancewallnau.com/strategy. You're going to love it. That's where the material comes from. But stay tuned. Strap yourself in. I'm going to give you a sampler right now. I have something really important I want to talk to you about today. Every one of you is interested in living a life that is actually on purpose. I mean, we can become fixated by current events. And man, it's getting like when the Iran nuclear reactor gets hit, when the riots are going on, when the trade is in Russia and Ukraine and Israel and Hamas. There's all kinds of ways to get hooked. But you know what? None of those incidents is actually helping you make a living, could interrupt you making a living, but none of them is really going to be helping you get where you want to go in life. So I cover news all the time and analysis, and every now and then I pull back. And I talk to groups of young people and entrepreneurs and young families, and I realize they have other things in their life other than world events and what's going on in the war room, so to speak. So I want to focus in on one powerful idea. I did a workshop with a CEO, a guy who's got like a $100 million corporation, and he was speaking there, and I listened to his presentation, and he said something which blew my mind. He talked about like the Le Mans race car, and he evidently he's involved with that, and he says something happens, the car is rattling, and it's noisy, and it's bouncing around until it hits the maximum torque of what the engine is designed to do, and then something strange happens. Everything goes quiet at like 220 or 240 miles an hour. The whole race car goes shoo, and it's like silent. It's like you break the sonic, sound barrier, and everything's still. And he said he was so intrigued by the concept that he began to look at what is really taking place. So I examined it a little bit, and it's called aerodynamic harmony. The driver would say it's when you get in the groove or you're aero-balanced. They say it's getting in the zone or the slipstream of where the air in front and the air pressing down. The engine is operating at where its maximum is designed to, so it's not still utilizing unused capacity, kind of shaking. It's doing what it's designed to do. And the best answer I could find, the terminology I could find for it was harmonic balance. You see, your life is designed like this engine here. You're a fine-tuned race car. You're designed for a certain purpose. And once you realize that, I was listening to some scientists talk about that what's leaving the evolutionary community in the dust and creating a whole open-ended search for divine design or intelligent life in the universe is that as they got into DNA, as they broke down the molecular biostructure at greater detail, they discovered that the DNA is almost like it's a code. Oh my gosh. It's like life has a designer, a super computer that creates a code for the DNA, and out of the code comes all these other processes. That race car is designed for a purpose. And when it's driven by the right driver, doing what its purpose is, it can reach frustrating, noisy journeys until it hits, boom, the realm of harmonic convergence, or the place of harmonic balance, where it's doing the thing it was called to do. I want to suggest to you that God himself, in the beginning, God is the code maker. He's the one that coded the system, that there is a moral universe that ultimately operates with a certain kind of a divine blueprint to it. And it has history, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in the Bible, it's called the end times, when the pressure is the most intense. The Greek word for tribulation is thlipsis. It means the compression of all the pages, narrowing your options. But it's also the time you're living in where if you can disconnect from the noise of what's going on around you and focus on driving the vehicle that God gave you, you can move at 240 miles an hour. You can hit a place called convergence. Convergence is a unique concept. It's actually coined by a researcher by the name of Bobby Clinton, and it refers to a stage, a life stage, here, rarely achieved. Convergence is when the sum total of all of your life experiences accumulate into a kind of into a defining moment where you know who you are and what it is that you're all about. I want to talk to you about this because according to Clinton, in his data, only 20%, oh, I got to use my pen here for this, 20% of people that he studied over the course of 30 years, he did his research at Fuller Theological Seminary, Dr. Bobby Clinton. And I was interested in this because I was teaching a master's degree course. I was interested because I was fast-tracking my divinity, my degree program. And since everybody knew that I was a teacher, I was teaching on 7 mountains of transformational culture, the 7 verticals that shape culture, and how they interact with each other in order to create an effect on a nation. So I was teaching that, and Bobby Clinton was the other teacher, and I got credit for teaching, which was kind of cool. It helped me do my degree faster. And I sat in his classes, and he talked about this convergence theory, or leadership emergence theory, as he calls it. And he said that over the course of his 30 years of research at Fuller, he studied the patterns and prototypes in the Bible, and in history, and in the live students that were there, to observe the arc of how they moved into alignment with the 240-mile-an-hour capacity of their race car, and they went to the top of their profession. So just from a pure human potential point of view, I was intrigued with the idea. Now, I've only got like 4 minutes in this, so I'm going to give you the quick synopsis. He said that convergence doesn't start. Nobody starts coming out of the womb going, hi, I'm Henry Ford, or Thomas Edison, or Winston Churchill, or Abraham Lincoln. He says it starts with your sovereign foundations. And this is important because God factored into your life, because he is the code architect. He fashioned your life what time of history you show up in. So you're so blessed you're alive now. And people say, I wish I could be alive back in the days of Jesus. No, you really don't. I mean, other than meeting Jesus and seeing him, which is like the ultimate, maybe that's the reason why that makes sense. But there is no human conveniences, and you're going to find there's no hot and cold running water, no plumbing. There's no reliable diet for food. That the slavery is endemic and cruelty is common, and it's a weird world back there, depending on what part of the planet you're dropped in. And you were born for this time, and you should be happy you are born in this time. But in this time, you were born into the gender you're in, so you don't want to be confused about whether you're in the right body or not. You were born into the family of origin that you came from, that somehow God had designed these random factors for you. Your gifts, talents, and abilities were already determined for you. In other words, You have a built-in code. Your nationality was determined for you. The color of your skin was determined for you. And like I said, even your time in history, are you a boomer? Are you a millennial? Are you a Zoomer or whatever? You're called to what you're called. You're in the exact place for the convergence of your own life calling. So the Christian, he was studying Christians, of course, because he's a professor at a theological seminary. He says that spiritual formation is a major part of this. I looked at these stages and I said, you know, this works for not only preachers, it works for people in different professions. And since I was looking at the 7 mountains and saying, well, what are the patterns for convergence in the business world? What's convergence look like in arts, as an artist, in convergence with your expression as an artist? What is convergence for the statesman, the political call? And so I wanted to break it out into a different study, but all of them have a spiritual formation. This is the period in life in which you have extremely interesting emotional events that shape for you your moral compass. Now, it can make a terrorist, an activist, a Unabomber, or it can make someone who gives their life for a higher cause. So Lincoln had arrived at certain conclusions about slavery because of the significant emotional events that had formed his moral compass. Spiritual formation for a Christian is a much more specific thing. This is when you meet Jesus, when you encounter the claims of the resurrection, when you begin to wrestle with is the Bible really real? You tell me that's real? It's not like all fiction? And you start, boom, having God encounters that confirm by the deep dealings of God that, while you're reading the book is reading you, and you start experiencing spiritual formation as a maturing believer. And then you come into this phase of ministry maturity, which, if I was to translate this to any language, even for a secular person who walks in fulfillment of destiny, because like I said, I studied Lincoln, I studied Churchill, I studied people that aren't models of preachers. But what I found is that all of them have a period when they have gift discovery and development. What does that mean? That means that you have certain talents and abilities and skills. Some of you are thinkers, some of you are talkers, some of you are musicians, athletes are physiological and kinesthetically gifted. That your gifting and your calling are intensely related to each other. That the ministry maturity or gift discovery development moves to a phase of life maturing. And this is where you deal with the ups and downs of getting fired from different jobs, like Rush Limbaugh kept getting fired. But each one opened up another awareness of what he needed to do right and do differently until he became an information entertainer with a conservative worldview. You could see the formation process in a life like Rush Limbaugh. You could see it in somebody like Steve Bannon. And so in life maturing, however, you're not able to do what you really want to do because you've got to pay the bills. You've got marriage problems. You might even have kids that are rebellious. You might have divorce. You might have sickness. You might be taking care of your old man. You might be dealing with bankruptcy. All kinds of things go into the cylinder of life maturing. But when these phases, as they start to overlap with each other, they come about that you're coming to a point of a greater clarification in terms of what it is that you uniquely do well and do best, and you enter the convergence zone. All right, I want to be able to get this teaching to you. I want to offer you something that'll enable you to do that. Go to lancewallnau.com/wheel. It's my gift to you. I want you to start the journey. I haven't got to the wheel yet, but this is where we're heading, into summarizing where you are at in the journey towards convergence. And I'll do this again in the next episode.
Most people never step into their true calling, not because they lack passion, but because they lack strategy. Your ultimate life strategy is the blueprint to unlock your gifts, align with your purpose, and build the life you were meant to live. Step into the convergence zone, where your talents collide with God's destiny for you. Go to lancewallnau.com/strategy. That's lancewallnau.com/strategy and start living your ultimate life.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world